Hello, dear friends. Welcome to our Mondays at 7 p.m. here, broadcasting live from Richmond, Virginia. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, regardless where you are in the world. Welcome. We're very happy to have you today. My name is Shane Martin. I'm broadcasting from the Spiritist Society of Richmond here in Richmond, Virginia. And as always, please, if you have any questions or comments, write them down. We're happy to have you, and we would like to answer any questions if we can that you may have. Tonight, we are going to talk about the gospel at home, the importance of conducting the gospel at home meetings in our homes, what is the gospel at home, how to do the gospel at home, what happens during the gospel at home, and how can you do the gospel at home at your own house. But before we start, we always going to start with a message from the book, from an inspirational book. In this case, I'm going to read a message from Happy Life, and that's message 31. And Happy Life is by the Spirit, Joanna de Angelis, through the medium, Chico Xavier. So we are thankful for Joanna de Angelis and our dear, I'm sorry, that's Joanna de Angelis and Divaldo Franco. Chapter 31, or message 31. Be a peacemaker. Live in peace and promote it everywhere you may be. Widespread turmoil and fighting could be prevented or at least circumvented if people would practice mutual goodwill. Receiving an offense in silence, meeting an attack with forgiveness, or diverting a blow would prevent many conflicts that erupt in flames of hatred. Believe in the power of nonviolence, and peace will blossom in your heart and in the hearts of those around you. All right, dear friends, now I welcome you to join me in a prayer, in our opening prayer. And when we pray, we recommend that if you can, you close your eyes, be seated in a comfortable position. You want to eliminate those external influences and visual cues that may distract us. We want to go inward, raising our thoughts to the creator of life and be together in prayer. So if you can, and it's safe to do so, I'm going to ask you to join me in a prayer. Dear Mother, Father God, we thank you tonight for all the blessings that we have in our lives, for your care and for your love that is bestowed upon us all around the globe. We ask you that you inspire us towards a deeper understanding of your laws and of your light. Tonight, we pray that we are instruments of your goodwill, helping those spirits that have joined us. We kindly request that your blessings be bestowed upon all of those who all around the world may be suffering, those who are in hospitals, psychiatric institutions, orphanages, areas of war, any places where there's suffering on the planet. May your messengers of light reach each and every heart and soul. We ask you, dear Lord, that you guide our studies, that you inspire us, and with your permission, we begin our gathering, and so be it. Dear friends, welcome, welcome. So today we're going to talk about the gospel at home. And we always recommend that you have a little bottle of water with you Can be a reusable bottle of water with spring water or filtered water. And you want to set it aside, and you're going to see later why, but I'll always encourage you to have that. You can have that for yourself or for your family members, and when we return to the times where we are physically able to be at a spiritist center, then we also want to remind ourselves to bring that water with us to the center, because the mentors will work on it today. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the gospel home. And the reason we're talking about the gospel home is because Spiritism is a science, a philosophy, and a religion. It is also lived faith. In Spiritism, we can sit here and talk and talk and talk and study and study and study, but really, we should be trying to, as much as we can, to apply those teachings to our daily life. So, we want to talk about the importance of the gospel home, what is the gospel home, how to do it, and how you and I can get started right away. And in a sense, our weekly meetings are a little bit of a gospel home, because we have a certain structure that we follow with discipline and care, that you're going to see later towards the end how it applies to the gospel home. Remember, in the times that we're living today, we're in 2020. If you're watching this in another time, we know from Spiritism that our thoughts create our lives. We are in the times of social distancing, physical distancing, social. We are connected from afar. We have the beautiful technologies being developed so that you and I can meet here today. We want to talk about focusing our attention in the good. And one way to do that in our homes is to have the weekly time set that you meet with your family members if they're living at home with you, or you can do the gospel home by yourself as well. Remember, you're never alone. The spirit mentors are with you, and there is a very fine line between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. So we're going to see that we're always in communion with the spiritual realm, so they're able to help us. How are we going to do this? We are going to go through an example. So I want to talk to you about an example that our dear Andrea Louise is going to bring to us in the book Messengers. And this is on the series from Andrea Louise, that is from the series Life in the Spirit World by Andrea Luiz. He's the spirit through the medium Chico Xavier. And we're going to cover the stories roughly, of course. This is a teaser, this is a little plug for you to go and hopefully be inspired to go and read the books of Andrea Luiz, because there's a lot there that we can learn and apply to our daily lives. So in this chapters 34 through 37, 38, Andrea Luiz is going to bring us an example of the worship in a home. That's in the book Messengers. It's the second book of the series, Andrea Luiz. And through his examples, I'm going to bring you the teachings of Spiritism and how we can apply it to our daily life. So here's a picture of Andrea Luiz. You may have seen this before. This is how the drawings of his spiritual appearance to the mediums it is. So as Andrea Luiz describes, he's coming from Nosso where he was residing at the time, with his friend and a mentor. Okay, so they are in a service mission, a service trip. So they are there, and they are traveling along a city in part of the city in Rio de Janeiro. So he's there walking around, and as he comes to this humble house here, as we're gonna see, there's a partner spirit here that is greeting them at the door. The first thing to talk about when we are consistently, predictably conducting the gospel at home in our homes is that home becomes a beacon of light, becomes a point of light that radiates out, that it provides the home with protection. So Andrea Luiz describes people incarnates here, as you can see, hopefully you can see my mouse, walking around with his mental forms. We all have mental forms. We think and we have this mental forms around us, and they describe seeing spirits on top of cars, behind cars, and balconies, following people around the street. So the spirits are all over us at any given time. But he noticed that this house is different. This is the house of Isabel. Isabel is an incarnate woman who is also a medium. And this house is an outpost of the colony Nosolar. So he notices this difference between his home on the earth, where if you read the book Nosolar, he was able to visit the home, and he describes being able to just walk into the home and there was no barriers and the spirits could come in and out. And that's what he did. He witnessed his family, and he helped his family overcome some difficulties. Go to the book No Solar to follow that story. However, in Isabel's home, it was different because Isabel consistently practiced the gospel at home meetings. And these, of course, these images, before I go on, are from a project called Projeto Imagem from a very talented artist that make drawings and illustrations based on the books. Um, and they're approved by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Of course, these are not mediumistic paintings or mediumistic drawings, but these are artists depicting what is described on the book. So again, now if you are at home in quarantine and self distancing from others, and if you have a talent like painting or drawing, go ahead, read the books, paint and draw, because sometimes it's very useful to have the visual representation. The first thing is that it was a modest home, and the home had protection. They just not could not just come in. They had to be let in. There were barriers, there was security in a sense to allow them in. The good spirits were there waiting for them, expecting their visit. So as they greet one another, because the spirits greet one another, they walked into the home. They described the surroundings and how the home was simple, humble, and Isabel was there working on her household duties. The family is going about their lives. You can see the 5 children. One of them is doing homework, the other ones are playing, one is sewing, so on and so forth. So, as you and I are here tonight, there's spirits around us. And depending on the kind of activities we engage, the kind of thoughts we have, and things that we're reading and watching, we're going to have different kinds of spirits around us, talking about this spirit influence in our lives. In Spiritism, believing that we are souls that are reincarnated on the earth. When we go to the spiritual realm, we're going to retain our individuality, and we're going to continue to be who we are. So the immortality of the soul allows us to understand that the spirits are around us at any given time. And here you can see this gentleman, this picture, this drawing of this gentleman depicts Isabel's husband. Isabel's husband is deceased, he's discarnated. However, he's there. He's allowed, because he has merit, to come into the home and help the family continue. So Isabel is, in this extent, a single mom. She's taking care of the family. When time comes, so she chose a time and a date. When the time comes, the family gathers around the table. And now here's a hint. You can gather around the table. You can sit in your living room, or in my case, you can do it in your office. You can do the gospel at home by yourself if you're living alone, or if your family is traveling, or you can do the gospel at home with your family members. In this case, it's very important to realize that Isabel's there. Here you have in this depiction 6 incarnate beings, the 5 children and Isabel. They have the Bible in front of them, and the children were invited to be in a gospel at home. So you want to invite your children to the gospel at home, and of course you want to make sure the activities and the reading are appropriate to the age of the child. And I'm going to give you some examples of books you can use, and you can also use different materials so they can express their worries and issues. So here we have the husband of Isabel and some familiar friends. So some familiar spirits that are related to the family. They may be relatives or not. They are there, they're companions, they join in. So when you and I are doing the gospel in our homes, we are serving. Is a type of service, is a type of commitment. And here on the right side of this image, You have the spirits, they are here and they look like they're suffering. The Andrea Luiz describes to them that they are in a condition to receive help. So the incarnates benefit by the presence of the good spirits. Our friendly spirits, our companions in daily life are able to also participate, and the suffering spirits can be helped. So your home becomes that point of light where the spirits can be brought in and helped. Isabel is a medium. She happens to be an ostensive medium. We are all mediums. In Spiritism, we believe that we can all perceive the presence of spirits in our lives in different ways. In her case, she can hear and see and transmit the message more extensively, clearly the message of the spirit. So you have the whole home composition here where we have everybody participate. So this is what they're gonna do. So this the mentor that is guiding this meeting, his name is Fabio Alito. He will, once one of the children is asked to do a prayer. So there's the first thing about the gospel at home. You pick a day and a time weekly that is good for you to keep that consistency. You gather your family around. If they don't believe in spiritism, they don't want to participate, that's fine. Just do it by yourself. Just take that 15-20 minutes aside for your weekly connection with the God, the food for your soul. Just like we take care of the body, we take care of nutrition, hygiene. Here is soul food for us. They pray, and the lights from the higher realms intensify around them, and they're able to feel that soothing presence of the spirits. As Fabio Alito explains to Andrea Luiz and his friends, in this case, he is going to guide the words of Isabel. So Isabel is also going to be helped by her husband to pick a passage in the Bible. So we think we are alone and we are opening a message book like this at random, but that's not true. The spirits are bringing to us what we need to know at that time. So when you pray and read the message, do that a mental ask. Please guide me, show me a message that is going to help me today, because you and I might be happy one day, next day the gospel home is a day that you're sad, angry. They will, if you attune to them, they will help you with this kind of messages. God will send the help that we need. And how many times I've done the gospel at home, if you're familiar with the concept, the day you're not feeling so good and you open a message, that's exactly what you want to hear. That's what's happening here. So Isabel, as the gospel home proceeds, there's a prayer, that attunement with the higher spirits, the family members are all around. And this is the time where Fabio Lito explains to actually Aniceto explains that Fabio Lito will talk through, inspire Isabel. The spirits on his level, his higher evolved spirits, will be able to hear his thoughts. So we are in the spiritual realm, we know the spirits can hear our thoughts and can know what we're thinking, and higher spirits can communicate through thought. And then as she speaks his message to the family, they explains that some spirits will understand most of it, some spirits will have a glimpse of it, and some spirits will just understand nothing, but will feel good about it. Because it's all about attunement. The most suffering spirits, the one with the lower mental vibrations, won't be able to capture as much as the beauty and teachings of the mentor, because they are in a different mental state. So another recommendation, let's review. Pick a day and time that you are able to stick with. Let's say Thursday night after, I come from home and I fed everybody does a gospel at home, because then the mentors can count on that date or time. Don't skip it. We want to make sure we have some sort of inspirational message or a book to study from. So you do the prayer, you read the message, you do the prayer, you're tuning with the spirits, and then you have to comment on that passage. In this case, because she's also catering to the children, because remember, childhood is when you and I can help the spirits that are reincarnating to mold their behavior towards the good. We can instill in them the seeds of goodness. So in this case, Isabel had asked her children to talk about something that happened to them that they're concerned about, and then a subject of suicide was brought up, and then as she was inspired to open the Bible, a certain passage, and the mentor inspired her to speak. In this case, she was able to explain to the children that love doesn't lead people to suicide. That, she goes on and explains that that's when you can bring the teachings of Spiritism in a way that will help the children undergo their difficulties in their daily lives. So, they may be concerned about not being able to see their friends. They might be concerned about having to stay home, and they may be picking up on our anxiety and that our fear. And that's the time where you can bring those teachings and how they apply to their daily lives, to our daily lives. And that's the beauty of the gospel at home, is that you can engage everybody around you. You read the message, you do the prayer, read the message, read the text, comment on it, because the spirits are there and they're inspiring us to say the right thing at the right time. And here you have the motherly explanation. So here they don't depict the mentor, but of course he's there. He is the husband and the friends of the family, where the mother is explaining to her son about their current situation. If you go to the book, you're going to see that Isabel is a widow, and she's a poor widow, and they don't have as much as they used to have in terms of meals and resources, so that the son is not very happy about it. So they're having a friendly discussion where she's saying, okay, you're under my wings, God put us in this situation together. Of course, when your dad was here, it was easier, but then we can endure this. We need to stick together. This is what we are here to do, to be together as a family. So that's when she can do that motherly explanation, bring in the teachings. And that's the same you can do at your home, and not top down, but just explaining, hey, you've reincarnated many times. We have debts to repair with one another. So we really want to make sure that we are doing that kind of teachings as we go. So here it is. That's it. So if you continue through the text, you're going to see that they close the meeting with another prayer after the explanations, and they are talking about. They close the meeting with a prayer. So as Isabel is doing this, and that's why I told you to bring in the water. Not only in this books, but other books of Andrea Louise. In this case here on the right side, I bring you a depiction of what may happen when we are. This is from the book On the Domains of Mediumship by Andrea Louise and Chico Xavier. Again, where a mentor, a spirit that is more elevated than you and I, are coming here, and they're magnetizing and infusing the water with molecules that you and I need for our physical and spiritual and psychological health. So that's what's important, to have that water for them to bless, so that you can benefit not just with the food for the soul, the attunement of the good spirits. They have good vibrations. You feel lighter, you feel better, and also they can provide us with physical health as well. Right? So this is happening while we are doing a gospel at home. This also happens when we are doing a meeting at a physical spiritist center. So we want to keep that in mind, that the mentors are working. And remember, here I showed you before that there were the suffering spirits participating on the meeting, that they are there. They found the home with the points of light. The spirits were able to bring them in to participate. And then later, after the gospel at home is done, everybody's goes to bed. And at night, after the meeting, here you have a depiction of Isabel's house being this beacon of light. You can see the light shining through the door, and the huge line of spirits waiting to be helped. And you can see here some spirits are assisting one another. So this is the time when the physical realm, the discarnate friends, are sleeping. You and I go to bed and our bodies sleep, and we're able to travel. We're able to detach from our physical bodies, leave them there, still connected, but then serve. And that's when you and I can be of even more service. Just doing the gospel home alone is service, so you can open the doors to the spirits. They'll be there, they'll listen to the message. And that's what's important too, to remember that sometimes the discarnate spirits that are suffering need to be in touch with us in order to be helped. Not all of them can read our thoughts. The higher spirit can read our thoughts. So it's encouraged that you read the message out loud. Read the message out loud, comment out loud, so they can also listen to it, or at least perceive that something is being said. Because then the mentors can take those teachings and build upon it. And then if you are blessed by God to have moved to a place away from your home country, wherever you were born in this world, and you're blessed and allowed by God to be in a different place, please go and read a message, a good message, a spiritist message, if you can translate one, in the language of the country that you live, because the majority of the spirits around you will not understand if you read the messages in the original Portuguese. So we will also want to be of service that way. So we can be of service and be allowed by God to have a different life, to reincarnate within our reincarnation, so we can be even more of service. All right. So here's you have the line of spirits being helped. And later in the book, Andrea Luiz describes two different ways that having that ambiance, that environment with full of soothing, healing vibrations from the practice of the gospel at home. Here's Andrea Luiz. And you see the spirits that are here seated at Isabel's home. This is actually after one of the meetings of the Spiritist Center that is attached to her home, where Andrea Luiz is able to provide the passes. So when you and I physically go to the Spiritist Center, we may receive spiritual magnetic passes. In this case, it's a spirit, discarnate person, giving passes on a discarnate person, because when you and I die, we bring with us what we are. So if we have some physical difficulties or some diseases and we are not able to be helped right away, we may appear, we may go to a place where we receive that kind of spiritual help, and he goes and apply passes to all of them. Only one of them is helped immediately, but then they keep coming. It's like slowly, one step at a time. The other way our home can be an outpost to a spiritist colony by serving as a place where the gospel home is conducted is where spirit, incarnate spirits, this lady here on the blue dress, she's an incarnate person. So she's asleep. She's brought in by her grandmother, who is in the spiritual realm. And you can see here the depiction of the cord, the silvery cord that attaches you and I in the incarnate plane to our physical bodies, that is only broken at the time of the death of the body. And they are having a conversation about something that is pertinent to the lady's life. Here's Andrea Luiz and the mentors talking and observing as case studies. These books are beautiful because they are true case studies. As a scientist, we do case studies in medicine and science, where describe different conditions so we can help others. And that's exactly what Andrea Luiz does. You can learn so much about the teachings of Spiritism in his books, and they're completely concordance with Kardec's work, right? So then she comes in and she'll have this remembrance of, the grandmother dreaming about things, and she'll have this good feeling. So spirits can help us during sleep time to do counseling, to receive help, to receive healing. And that's what we call intelligent sleep in Spiritism. So we want to make sure that before we go to bed, the last thing we do is we take a couple of deep breaths in, we meditate if that's what we do, and we do a prayer of gratitude for the day that we had, because we don't know if we're going to wake up the next day. We want to make sure we ask that God allows us to go with our spirit mentors to places where we can be of service, even more service. We can continue to with the passes. If you're medium, you can continue to help the spirits in that regard. All right. So we talked about the mechanics of the gospel home, of keeping the same day of the week at the same time to be consistent. The presence of familiar spirits, the presence of higher spirits, and the presence of spirits that we are able to help suffering spirits, and things that happen after, way after the gospel home is done, and then the ways the spirits can help us and we can help them to fulfill God's will during this lifetime. So, in sum, the gospel home is a therapy of love, because love is the glue of the universe, right? The home environment is reinvigorated. So you feel automatically better and lighter because the mentors are also helping you. Discarnate spirits find consolation. Those who are suffering are able to come to our homes and see it as an outpost of light, and they know they can receive help. Fraternal ties that unite families are solidified. So this is a time that the families can nourish their souls together, remember why they came together, and support one another in their trials. The home can become an outpost for a spiritual colony. In this case, Isabel's home was an outpost for the spiritual colony. And in this outpost, these discarnate spirits will find repose, they'll reinvigorate their energies, and they will heal. And then we commune with the higher spirits. Here's a depiction of Chico Xavier's home with the presence of Emmanuel, where they were doing their own gospel at home meetings. So it's all within the reach of all of us. And all we have to do is be open and willing. In these times of COVID-19, when there's fear and anxiety everywhere, you can be the light and the change around your neighborhood just by attempting to do the gospel at home and perfecting every time. It will feel so much better. You're gonna look forward to it each and every week. So in the books of Andrea Luiz, he says it shows God's mercy and love by pulling back the curtain that temporarily separates the physical and spiritual realms. So remember, when you and I leave this physical body, when our reincarnation is done, and we are called back to our true home, which is the spiritual realm, we would love to have a place where we know we can go, where the spirits can help us. Imagine if in a fortunate event we find ourselves lost and we see that home, there's a light coming through it, we can go in there, and the discarnate spirits are there to welcome us. So by doing this today, we may be helped tomorrow. So how can you do this at your own home? So begin with a specific day and time and stick with it. And why do we say stick with it? Of course, the mentors are flexible. They will accompany us, but they also, as you saw, there was a lot of work in the spiritual realm. There's lots and lots of good work going on. There's so many good spirits just waiting for a little opening in our consciousness to be able to use us as in agents of service to God. The consistency offers spiritual sense to ourselves and others, so they can plan and they can put in flyers. They can invite the spirits to come in. They know they can count on us that day. They can use that place of our homes as a place in between service missions, right? Service trips. So it's all about consistency and discipline, because everything you read on Andrea Luiz and Emmanuel's and Divaldo's work is about consistency. The higher spirits that you and I are going to be one day, and the higher spirits that are around us now, they're disciplined. There is order. There is things that they do over and over again. So why not start now? Let's be disciplined and consistent now. Open the meeting with a prayer from the heart. Of course, you can read things, but it's better if you ask God, as your father, as your mother, please understand whatever you're feeling, open your hearts, because then you're gonna receive the inspiration of how to go through different things. You read an inspirational message, you comment on that message, and then you finalize with a prayer. Then you connect your hearts to the hearts of mentors and others. There's a topic of prayer in the Spirit's book, the question 495, and also on the last chapters of the Gospel according to Spiritism, there is all the mechanisms of prayer, how to pray, and examples. If you don't know where to start, those are the chapters for you, where you can physically open the Gospel according to Spiritism and read the prayers. And start from there, and slowly, as you take a deep breath, you feel more comfortable, those prayers will flow from you easily with whatever your heart's afflictions are, for you to receive help. Now, if you go to the website of the United States Spiritist Federation, spiritist.us/brochures. You can download this brochure that I'm showing you here on how to do the gospel home. It goes in a simple way with the same topics that we are discussing today, right? This is a brief discussion of the importance of the gospel home. You can print that. You can have that printed to distribute to the people that come to the Spiritist centers once we're back and running one day when the health authorities allow us to safely do so. One thing I want to talk about is there's an alert here that you can't read necessarily, but the alert is about what should you not talk about the gospel home? The gospel home is not the time to air grievances. It's not the time to fight. It's not the time to open arguments. It's a time where we are open to receive the help and to harmonize with the ones around us, in the physical realm, in the spiritual realm. So we really want to avoid the contentious debates and topics there are negative and discussions about gruesome events of the day. We want to really keep the vibrations high. Of course, at some point, you want to discuss with the problems with family members. You want to maybe receive spiritual help, psychological help. Remember, I told you about the intelligent sleep. You can request that you are going to the spiritual realm and do group therapy with the spirit psychologists out there. So we really want to keep it inspiring and helpful with the knowledge that this is a service to the ones that you cannot perceive unless you're a understansive medium, but they are there even if you can't see and hear them. The spirits are everywhere, and the majority of the spirits around the universe are of the good. So all it takes is a little bit of change and attunement for us to connect with them. Last but not least, the Jesus in your home, the gospel in your home and in your heart can start with simple, like this is an example. These are examples of books that you can use. Living Spring, The Gospel According to Spiritism, Jesus in a Home, which is this book here. Our Daily Bread, The Way, the Truth, and the Light, Happy Life. Happy Life is a little, it's inspirational, was a little bit just on the small side, but there's a lot of content in here. Christian Agenda, Child of God, so on and so forth. So you want to pick a message that you can extract those spiritist teachings from. And if you have children, here are some. There are 5 examples of Adilson Salles books in English. They're available wherever books are sold, usually here in the US in the Kindle version. Now, if you're blessed enough to speak Portuguese, there are many, many spirits books and lectures and cartoons and magazines that you can get that way. But in this sense, the Spiritist Federation also has a kids and youth section. You can download songs from there. If the children are young, you can sing with them. You can have activities with them. So check out spiritist.us. There are a lot of good resources out there for all of us. All right, that was a lot to digest. And following the structure of the gospel home, and very blessed and honored to be here with you today, I'm going to finalize these beautiful teachings with a prayer. And today, I will do a prayer. Actually, I told you to do a prayer from the heart, which is what I did in the beginning. But I am going to read from the book, Jesus in a Home. The last chapter is, as you know, the book Jesus in the Home by Neil Lucio has 50 chapters. Each one of them describes the meetings that Jesus had with his disciples in the house of Simon Peter. So they're true accounts of the teachings of Jesus. And how you're going to see if you read this book that is usually not on the regular Bibles is how commonplace the discussions were, how the concerns and comments of the apostles are just like ours. You're going to see yourself in there. Jesus chose those 12 apostles. He could have chosen like 12 higher superior spirits to go with to follow him, but he chose those in order for us to see ourselves, to mirror ourselves in them. So you can know that it is possible to follow Jesus' advice and feel Jesus in your heart, because as the spiritual governor of the planet, he knows you intimately, and He's taking care of each and every one of us, the 8 billion incarnates and the 21 billion total that we have right now. So this book was published in 1950 and in Portuguese in 2010 in English. And I'm going to read the prayer that Jesus spoke to the apostles the night before he was going to be taken into custody. So it's a beautiful prayer that shows the magnificency of our Master in knowing how wonderfully He's taking care of us and how He cares for each and every one of us. So I will humbly read this, and I invite you again to join me by closing your eyes and following along with Jesus. So the story goes, the master on his part refrained from making any comments, but at the end of the meeting, he raised his lucid eyes to the heaven and prayed fervently. Father, kindle your divine light around all of those who have neglected your blessing in the darkness of the earthly journey. Help those who have forgotten to share the leftover bread on their full tables. Help those who are unashamed to flaunt their happiness in the face of poverty and misfortune. Help those who forget to thank their benefactors. Father, take pity on those who sleep in the nightmares of vice, bequeathing a dolorous inheritance to those who are embarking upon the human journey. Uplift those who have forgotten the duty to serve their neighbor. Take pity on the wise that hide their intelligence within the four walls of their domestic paradise. Awaken those who dream of controlling the world, now realizing that compared to eternity, their life in the flesh is merely 1 minute between the cradle and the grave. Uplift those who have fallen, defeated by an excess of material comfort. Correct those who spread sadness and pessimism amongst their fellow beings. Forgive those who have turned down the opportunity for peace, who go through life disseminating rebelliousness and disorder. Intervene on behalf of all of those who believe that they possess fantastic powers and insanely deem themselves to be judges, condemning their very own brothers and sisters. Awaken the troubled souls who poison the path of others with the spiritual aggression of untimely acts. Extend your paternal hands to all of those who have forgotten about the sentence of death, the renewer of life, which your law has engraved on the precacious body. Enlighten those who have lost themselves in the darkness of hatred and revenge, of wayward ambition and cold cruelty, who believe they are powerful and free, when they are nothing more than slaves worthy of compassion before your sublime will. All of them, Father, are wrongdoers who elude the courts of earth, who were singled out by our sovereign and perfect justice for crimes of forgetfulness before the infinite good. Dear Lord, we thank you tonight for the blessings that we have received. May you help all of those who are suffering. And we ask you that you help us throughout the week to apply these beautiful teachings that we have received. With your blessings and with your kindness, we end today's studies. And so be it. Dear friends, thank you so very much for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, please write to us here on the Facebook page, on a YouTube channel. ssrichmond.org is our website. You can always go in there. There's a contact form. Look around for every opportunity to do good. And until next time, I wish you many, many blessings. God willing, I will see you next Monday at 7 p.m.